as much as I want to like see this as one individual result, and it's actually against my nature as a Kool-Aid, where you feel like it's just one match. I say it out loud and go, okay, the 3 points against Valencia, they matter just as much as 0 points against Real Madrid. Who cares? You know, it's on to the next one. Rayo Vallecano, Alaves, those games actually are more important about Barca moving up the table than even Real Madrid, because top four is the objective, not winning La Liga this season, right? The objective is just to get top four, right? Yeah. And so Valencia, Alaves, and Rayo matter so much more to that. But as much as I say that, Emile, I immediately, the hypocrisy comes in and I go, wait a second. I lost in El Clásico to Real Madrid 2-1. That is an entire referendum of FC Barcelona from 1899 until now. And we need to just understand it's a referendum. And I just, the hypocrisy in my heart does not match what my brain feels.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think what really stinks about it is, I was reading it's the first 4 Clásico losing streak for Barca in, I believe it's 56 years. And Koeman is the first coach in, 85, 86 years to
Patrick O'Connell
lose 3 in a row. Yeah. And
prior to the Civil War. Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think part of the problem is that it's starting to feel like a while since we experienced a Clásico win and even just like a really kind of uplifting and joyful Clásico win. Those are kind of fading into the rear view a little bit. And so, yeah, because I agree with you. In a vacuum, this game, and we've talked about it before here, we've talked about it offline. The objective this year, as much as idealistically you might want it to be competing for the league or winning the league, I don't think it is that this year. This year, it's accumulate as many points as you can, beat the opponents that you can beat, and, and even the occasions where, you take a point, just accumulate as many points as you can, get into the top 4, lick your wounds, and come back to battle next year. So in that sense, in a vacuum, in my rational brain, this doesn't matter anymore, like you said, than Rayo or Valencia or Elche or, name the teams. But at the same time, you want to win, and I think the thing is too, you want to take your chances. It's one thing when if you play a great game against Madrid and you strike a couple of times, but whatever happens, whether it's Benzema or Vinicius or, Alaba or whomever, but if their talent or their spark and their brilliance kind of overwhelms you on a day, I feel like you can deal with that more than
Bayern Munich.
Yeah, then we had chances and we whiffed on chances, or the what if or the what could have been hurts a little bit more than we gave them our best punch and on the day they were just better than us.
Yeah, I'm caught between two minds about that, like trying to figure that in my brain, where I remember back to last year, was it Cadiz, I think it was, where Lenglet makes the error and it's all on Lenglet, and Barcelona, you could say that Barca could have also created more chances and finished more chances, and it doesn't come down to one mistake or one moment in the game, but in that case it did, and Barca dropped points because of one individual mistake by Lenglet. And like browsing over this game, you talk about the huge miss by Dest, of course, in the first half. That I want to actually have a little segment on that in total, because it is such the most important moment of the game. But there was the Dest miss, but overall, like even his performance, like he was fine. I mean, I go up and down the squad for both squads, and it was like I think it's that sinking feeling that it wasn't an individual mistake that you could just like put in the past. It was that individuals were fine, but Barca as a team were the problem. And I think the feeling I had before the game that still sticks with me after the game is that I hope that Barca wouldn't get let in an early goal, because I felt like an early goal, especially from the likes of Benzema, it was going to be a death sentence. That was it for Barca, right? And they hung on.
Yeah, there's a snowball effect to those. Yeah,
exactly. And I thought the starting lineup was good. I thought the not only the choices, but even the formation, I thought they came out with the right fight, the desire. The Camp Nou at 35,000 people. So, I mean, we were ready to go. It was El Clásico. It kind of felt like El Clásico in it. But in me, I said, Barca are not as good as Real Madrid. And there's a sense among Kool-Aids that Barca have to be the better team to win a matchup like this. And not only do they have to be the better team to win, but they have to be much better than Real Madrid to get any kind of result. And Barca just don't play, even at home, they don't play as a scrappy underdogs. They don't play as this united front. And I think coming out of the match, that's unfortunate because that's how I feel. I mean, it was just confirmation bias. That feeling I had is what makes it worse, is that I can live with mistakes from young players, from Dest and Eric Garcia, who were both, again, we'll talk about it, hot and cold, and individual players that are learning. Ansu figuring out how to get back to health and make himself useful again. Gabi, a huge experience for him in his first El Clásico. And I can live with mistakes from young players, but the team as a whole, veterans and young players alike, just feels off. It feels disjointed. It feels like they can't be underdogs, and they are just the second best team in El Clásico, even though they were the better team, right? Like the result at the end doesn't match even the match we saw, because it's always Real Madrid on the counterattack. Real Madrid are willing to be the worst team, and they still got the 3 points. And it's like, that kills me, because like that first goal goes in and I go, man, we're going to watch Vinny Jr. on the ground for the next 65 minutes. And then he's going to sub out and somebody else is going to be on the ground. And it was Courtois. I didn't have that on the Real Madrid bingo.
He wasn't on the bingo card. Yeah.
An injury, but we carry on with that. I don't know.
But no, I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, I think for all the star-centric kind of Madrid, the Florentino Perez thing, Madrid scrap better than Barca do. And Madrid are more willing. It's not that they want to, but they seem either more willing or more capable of playing ugly than Barca are. And I mean, I think, you touch on the Dest miss, and, subsequently, even after the goal, the PK header that, I mean, it wasn't on target. Like, it's not like, it was just wide, but it was so gutting to see it kind of, you think it's going in, and then it just kind of, just flies by. Yeah. And when Barca didn't have an immediate answer, or just even kind of an immediate onslaught of attack where you feel like you're pinning the opponent back and retaliating, it increasingly became, and, particularly after halftime, it was clear that Madrid were more than happy to relinquish possession and just absorb whatever pressure Barca could conjure, and just try to clip a second one. And even if they didn't, they still had the lead. So it was, if we can keep you out of our goal, then we've done our job. And they didn't really care how they got there. They weren't trying to outplay Barca. They got their goal. I mean, it was kind of the classic. It struck me as a little bit of the way Jose Mourinho would talk about away games in the Champions League, in knockout ties in the Champions League, is you get your goal, or you try to get a goal, and then you just hunker down. And we're not trying to be heroes here. We're not trying to run up the score. We're here for a result. We're here to do a professional job.
Well, yeah, and on the first goal, I mean, there's blame to be thrown all around on everybody. Where Memphis losing the ball in the position he did, you can't take that touch on the outside of your boot, because there could be a defender on rushing, and then it's Alaba who takes possession, and then Memphis doesn't track him. He does not hand him off, and so you cannot leave your man if you're not going to hand him off. And then Mingueza, because he missed the tackle on Vinny Jr., there's space is left in way behind. And then Garcia, as he's entering his zone, if you will, doesn't track Alaba either. And so that first goal winds up being a huge team mistake. And I'm not sure what Ter Stegen could have done. It does go across his goal as well, but it was perfectly placed. A well done shot by Alaba. It's indicative. That goal is indicative of Real Madrid. And I think, not to say to credit to Real Madrid, but Barcelona in this match in the midfield, between De Jong, who didn't have a particularly good game, and then Busquets and Gabi, Barcelona's midfield were actually, to me, quicker, or had a little more liveliness than the Madrid midfield, where Cruz and Modric were almost nowhere to be found. Modric a little bit in that second half, but I mean, Cruz was, I mean, he was one of the worst players on the field to me, or at least non-existent, not doing much of anything. And
Gabi, he was just more anonymous, I think. Yeah.
And Gabi was largely, defending him well and keeping him in check. And same with Casemiro, he wasn't really affecting the game much, other than, snuffing out a little bit of danger. But really, that was all on Alaba. I mean, Alaba had a really good game. But that said, because of how slow their midfield is, right, that's one of the excuses for Barca. Like, Piqué slow, Busquets is slow, Barca slow up the middle. And Barca also, we have this idea that they don't have much speed, because they don't. Dembele is quite quick, but, Gabi is not necessarily a fast player, and there's a difference between fast and athleticism, right? Like athleticism
Yeah.
is, or the strength or whatever adage you want to use about,
And there's like dexterity and
yeah,
agility and things
like
like that. Yeah.
whatever we call Bayern Munich, right? Because Bayern Munich is like,
Yeah.
oh, they're better athletes, therefore that's where football
Yeah.
is. And I'm not going to get into those tropes. But what Madrid is they're kind of slow in the same way that Barca's
Mm-hmm.
kind of slow. But the speed that they do have, where Barcelona don't really have a Vinny Jr. I mean, Ansu is getting back to fitness, but even he is like, he's not necessarily a Ferrari. He's just a very, very fast car, right? Like
Yeah, he's not a burner. Yeah,
no,
exactly.
but he is quick. He's fast. And he's
Yes.
strong.
Yeah.
He's all those things. He's a great all around
Mm.
athlete. But Vinny Jr. is just fast. I mean, that's what that kid does. I mean, that's what he is.
Yes.
And they know how to use his speed. So Benzema doesn't even have to be fast. He just kind of Benzema is actually statistically both on who scored, and then the other one I went to, what I'm forgetting the website. He actually was the worst, like grade wise. He got like a 6.18, like which is worse than everybody on the field. And so Benzema, I know the eye test tells you that he was effective, right?
Right.
And like the advanced metrics say he wasn't. And that's actually the other thing, looking at the advanced metrics and all that stuff, where it's just like the players that I didn't think were great, like Alba, to me, I was like, where was he? I mean, I thought that Balde might have done a similar job he just felt anonymous to me. He felt also like he was still dealing with that ankle injury. It looked like he wasn't completely fit. And that was why. And the reason I asked that is because of the Vinny Jr. thing. Well, Alba, yeah, he had to defend a little bit. I mean, not really. I mean, but Barca weren't, whatever speed they had with Dest and Alba and Ansu, there's no real plan that you can see to let those guys go out and be runners. Even De Jong, who's not really fast, but he can dribble, there really wasn't even those spaces for him to run into. And that Real Madrid had prepared for that. So I guess the point is that first goal was a reminder that Real Madrid, yeah, they're willing to counterattack. They're willing to muddy the game up. And they're not better athletes. They're not faster. They just know how to use the weapons and the tools that they have. And that, Emile, is a final reminder that Real Madrid, when they cut ties with Cristiano Ronaldo now almost 2 years ago, and now they cut ties with Sergio Ramos in the offseason, their rebuilding process has kind of been on the fly, but it also is already at a different stage than Barca's is. And they're farther along of this championship rebuild than Barca is. And that kind of goal reminds me of that fact that they better know how to use the weapons they have, even though Barca were the better team. But Barca aren't a better team because they're a worse team, right? But they have a squad that is more talented, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly it. I mean, I think in a sense, kind of Barca have the same remnants of the spine of the last decade, kind of in a similar way to what Madrid do, in the sense that, Alba's still there, Piqué is still there, Busquets is still there. And similarly, Toni Kroos is still there, and Modric and Benzema. I mean, I think one of the things is at this stage in the game, Benzema is the best individual player of those six, of the kind of those legacy superstars.
Sure.
But I think with Madrid, I think the loss of Ronaldo sort of wasn't seismic in the same way that the Messi loss was. And even, Barca over the last 4 years have lost Messi, Suarez, and Neymar. And
Griezmann.
Yeah.
We had to throw him in. He was the second.
No, it's true. I mean,
have to.
Yeah. I mean, he scored 2 Champions League goals this past week. And so I think but with Madrid, they lost Cristiano, but they kept Benzema, who is still, a world-class player. But along the way, they brought in the likes of, whether it was Vinicius, and, they made adjustments along the margins that have taken, I think, in a better way than Barca's have. And so I think they started their rebuild potentially even earlier than Barca did. And even the guys that didn't work were kind of moved out quickly, and there don't seem to be a lot of lingering issues, but they seem to have figured out who is going to be a part of this squad. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of question marks. There's no will he, won't he types of players. And so they have the talents that they want, and they have them playing the way that they intend to play.
Yeah, and they kept showing the bench for Barcelona with injured players rather, with Araujo, Pedri, and Dembele. And I was I'm almost debating myself here, where like it kind of feels like an excuse to be like, oh, well, if those players played, because in theory, this is in theory, if Barca had a system or a game plan every time, players are supposed to be plug and play. But I think if we're going off that idealistic notion that Barca have this devout system that it shouldn't matter if Pedri's out or Dembele's out, then you're fine. And you know what I mean? You just keep doing the same.
Yeah. Next man up kind of thing. Yeah.
Exactly. But the problem is that Barca doesn't have that. They don't have that infrastructure. And so without Pedri to do the job he does, without Araujo to do the job he does, and and the thing about Dest and the miss, to go back to it, it's not a defensive Dest that should have made it. But once more, that is a 20-year-old right back, or he was a winger at youth division, sure, but it's a right back who's being put in a position to score that goal as a right winger. And it's a reminder that if Dembele's contract situation, that winds up being with the renewals of Pedri and Ansu, that's the next, they'll say next man up, but that's the next problem up, right? That's the next thing on the docket, that Dembele either has to be sold in January or he's gone for a free, and Barca cannot afford to lose Dembele on a free. So now a very difficult decision is going to need to be made when he hasn't played in months and months and months,